What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of New Orleans Basketball, New Orleans Network podcast. As always, I'm your host, Raphael Rattler, joined by my fellow middle brother, Garrett Jordan Rattler. What's poppin' with you, bro?
What up, bro? Everything's all good on this side, man. It's beautiful weather in New Orleans, man. I'm telling you, it is. It feels like basketball weather, man. It feels like basketball. Well, my favorite time of the year because I love October. I love the NBA basketball, NBA, you get NBA basketball, NFL, college football, college basketball. But then you also get like that little that Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas run. I just love it. I just love it all. And the fact that like the NBA is back and man, people haven't wasted no time getting here. Well, we got 40 balls, we got 40 and 50 balls. We got it is insane. But yeah, man, it is good to be back, man. Good to be back with everybody, man. Appreciate y'all pulling up in the middle of the day like this, trying to get some more of this Pels content out now that the season is rolling. So I appreciate y'all rocking with us. What up, Taker? How's everything on your side, bro?
Today's been a day. I'll say that.
I heard.
I'll say that for sure. But yeah, you're right, man. There were some crazy games last night. Pels game included. There were some crazy performances. VJ Edgecombe looked incredible in his NBA debut, but so did Jeremiah Fears. And before we get too far into that, make sure you guys are locked in with us. That's NO_basketball, no E. Make sure that's on Twitter, that's on IG, that's on TikTok, wherever you get your socials. Make sure if you're not already that you are subscribed to the channel. So we allude to the NBA kicking off, and there was a lot of high scores. There was a lot of great performances. The Pelicans came out like game busters in the first half, and then ultimately, fell to their demise in the clutch yet again versus Memphis, losing 128-122 on the road in Memphis. So let's start with like what we talked about heading into the game. So some of the keys to the game was the defensive activity and being active both in the passing lanes as well as with your hands up in the block lanes and things like that, attacking the rim early and often, playing paint to great basketball, and Zion being aggressive out the gates. And if you just said those things, the Pelicans did well in all of those categories, but it was a lack of consistency throughout that ultimately caused them to lose the game, lose the big lead, and not being able to catch up from that. What were some of the first things that stood out to you in terms of their non-negotiable, their identity that Willie Green said it today after practice, they held for 3 quarters, but that third quarter, man, that's always the ones that punches them in the gut.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the way that they were playing defense in the first half. They came out and they were on a string. I tweeted about it. It looked like all 5 guys were moving at the same thing, at the same pace, at the same time, making all the right decisions. They were helping the helper. They were weak side coming in and the thing that stood out to me the most, which then they got away from it and turned out to be their downfall, was that they were blitzing the pick and roll and getting the ball out of John Morant's hands and putting their offense into scramble mode. And then the Pelicans were scrambling and making the right closeouts and things like that. And it got them that lead, right? That high lead where they won the race to the first time out. We talked about that was a key, taking the FedEx Forum out of the game early. And I think that they did a great job of that. But then, like you said, it's the NBA is all about consistency. It goes from quarter to quarter, play to play, game to game, season to season. That's how you establish good habits and good tendencies, is doing it consistently throughout the game. And once again, time and time again, the Pelicans found a way to find a quarter, and it happens to be the same quarter that they always do, to get away from all of that and then find themselves trying to fight back in the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, you look at any team and say, man, they had 10 steals, they had 4 blocks, they had 66 points in the paint. They won, right? Like you look at that kind of stuff and you say, that's what the Pelicans
they out rebounded them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's what the Pelicans needs to embody. That's how they need to play. But to your point, and again, and Willie Green talked about this after practice as well. Through the years, regardless of what iteration of the Pelicans that you've seen, regardless of who's been available on the court, when teams ratchet up their physicality and when teams start to get tougher and the lanes are closer and the closeouts are tougher and there's more on ball pressure, the Pelicans have not always responded the best. And again, this one happened in the third quarter, and it's been the third quarter for a long time or the last couple of years. Sometimes it's in the first quarter. Pelicans get off to terrible starts and have to dig themselves out of holes. But this team is going to have to learn how to win, right? Regardless if they have all the talent in the world, which we'll get to, they have to learn how to, one, close out games, how to maintain energy, how to respond from runs, how to make substitutions to get your best players back on the court when runs are getting out of hand, things like that. These are all things that the organization needs to learn how to do. It's not just Zion. It's not just the bench unit. It's not just Willie Green's coaching staff. Everyone needs to learn this is how we're going to close games, because the first 43 minutes of the games in a lot of NBA games don't matter. It's always that last 5 and what you're going to do there.
To that point, I mean, the Pelicans won every single quarter except the third quarter. And when you come out and you give that flat of a performance, that's all it takes to lose. Damn what you did in the first half and damn what you did in the fourth quarter, because there were some things that they did well in the fourth quarter, getting back into the game, which we'll talk about. But that third quarter, when you come out and you don't play at your best, and you let a team put up 41 points in the third quarter, and you only muster 22. I mean, that it throws away all the good stuff that you did in the first half, and whatever you bring in the fourth quarter, that is where you lose the game.
Right. And again, like, there was so much good, Garrick. Like, you don't want to take away character wins. You don't want to take away sympathy wins and things like that. But there was so much good that came out of the game that you walked away saying, okay, this wasn't a game that, the Pelicans were hanging in there and then lost at the game. This is a game the Pelicans lost. Like, they should have won and handled their business the majority of the game, but they need to learn how to close and how to play more consistently. You're right in terms of, again, the defensive activity was there, 21 deflections. Like, those are the type of things that you want to see. Again, something that has been missing last year, and again, even without Zion to some degree the year before, the Pelicans have a really good job, and this is where they need to lean to, because I don't think they're ever going to be that team that shoots 44 threes a game. Like, I know everyone keeps saying, we want to shoot 40, we want to shoot 40. I just don't know if they're ever going to be that team. I think they need to settle somewhere in the middle. But Garrick, they have the ability to get other teams in foul trouble very quickly. The Memphis Grizzlies didn't have 2 of their bigs, Zach Edey, Brandon Clark, didn't have 2 of their bigs available. But Garrick, I'm not sure that would have made a difference, because the way the Pelicans were attacking the rim consistently, that's why they had so many points in the paint. That's why they were able to finish and get on those runs and things like that. Also comes with the ability to foul all their guys out. So at the end of games, Jaren Jackson gets out. At the end of games, Jock Landale gets out. I think that's something that they need to continue. That needs to be a trend every single night. We talk about building an identity for a team. One of it needs to be, we need to learn how to defend without fouling versus these guys, because they're going to get to the bonus quicker than us. And again, I think this is an area that it's game one, but it's something that you want to see them continue to stack. From that perspective. Now, one thing that I really liked, and you look at the box score, and the crazy thing to say is, man, that wasn't a great Zion game. Like, you look at 48% from the field, and you're like, that's not the best that he can play. But Garrick, like, his mindset, and that's the thing that we were talking about prior to this episode, his mindset to start the game. He led the team in minutes. He led the team in shot attempts. He led the team in free throw attempts. He led the team in assists. He led the team in steals. He led the team in activity. And that's what you want to see from a player like Zion. What did you take away from him in terms of that being a key to the game? And that's an area where he delivered as well.
Yeah, I think that just speaks to the brilliance of Zion, because I would tell you that wasn't a great Zion game, and I'm sure he would tell you that. But then you look at the stats, and you're like, that was a damn good game for anybody else under any NBA circumstances. And so that goes to show you the brilliance of Zion. And listen, he got he got frustrated with the foul call. Like he let the team in free throw, but he probably could have gotten a whole lot more free throws. That's something he's been dealing with for years and years, going back to the broken hand and all of that. Like this is something that he deals with, and it gets frustrating and it's understandable. But it's something that he has to learn that this is just the way it's gonna be. Like it's just the way it is. Like you are one of the hardest people to referee, and that's what you go through. But to what you were talking about, his mentality, attacking the rim, attacking the shots. Again, I would have loved for him to continue to shoot, to be honest with you. Like he got up the most shots, but he could have taken even more shots. But that goes into some other things that we'll get into. But I think you saw like the full spectrum of Zion. The stocks, I tweeted him and Herb competing for stocks all season, stocks leader all season. Please, let's have that, because those guys were going back and forth with the defensive playmaking. I think that helps get that offense going and helps get extra points for the team. But his activity on the defensive side of the ball, his activity, you saw him switch on to Ja Morant early in the game, and it just was like, move out the way, I got him. Now Ja made a great shot, but he made him have to take a step back three over him. And so those are the type of things that you want to see from Zion. And again, it's the first game of the season. This is the first time these guys have played NBA minutes together against NBA teams in a regular season. So there's a lot of things. They still was able to put up 122 points without getting up other than 27 points. And a lot of that is from Zion. 27 3-pointers up. A lot of that is from Zion and other guys getting to the free throw line. So Zion getting guys in foul trouble. I talked about that earlier. When you have guys like Jordan Poole, who is drawing fouls, and Jeremiah Fears, who's drawing fouls, getting into the foul lane, into the bonus early is a weapon for the Pelicans. You saw Zion going to the rim over and over again. You saw him pulling up for the middies, that he's trusting that work that you love to see, and his playmaking ability, getting guys involved. And so this is just another step for him. Again, you love to see it in the first game of the season, him coming out and making it like this is what Zion's floor is going to be. But again, I think that he left a lot on the table, and the Pelicans left a lot on the table.
I tend to agree with that. An area that we were looking at and focused on heading into that game was how the bench unit was going to do, right? How the guys off the bench would punch back. And to some degree they did. There were times in the games where things got out of hand, especially when Memphis went on that 19-0 run in the third quarter. That's really what turned around the game and ultimately lost the game for the Pelicans as well. But I think the whole mentality of the team needs to embody the superstar. You saw that again. Zion was attacking the rim. You saw Jeremiah Fears attacking the rim. You talked about Jordan Poole and things like that. But there were times in the game where it felt as if the offense didn't know what they were supposed to do. Hey, we're just going to dribble the ball around the three-point line. Hey, we're just going to pass the ball. And that led to activity from Memphis when they ratcheted their defenses up, slowing down that second unit. I want to talk to you a little bit about the rotations. Obviously, this is game one. Obviously, there's a lot to be ironed out. Obviously, Yves Missi goes down at the beginning of the fourth quarter, so you have no bigs. And before the game even starts, you got to know that someone's got to play between Derek Queen and Hunter Dickinson, things like that. What were your thoughts on the initial rotation, just in game one, as you saw things kind of play out? Do you think that led to the ultimate result of a loss?
At the end of the last pod, we talked about it. We talked about what you wanted to see in this Memphis game and what could happen and what shouldn't happen. And the last point I made was that this could not be a game that you lost because of coaching. Like, again, if they got hot from three and things that you could not deal with or you could not predict, that's one thing. But you can't get out, done by coaching. And Raph, I'm not gonna put it all on coaching because there were some things, but there were some rotations in that game that I was questioning a little bit. And I see people talking about it in the chat. Like there is no reason for at any point in time for this Pelicans team to not have Zion or not have Trey Murphy. And again, I will get on Trey Murphy. He did not have a good game. He did not. This was not the way you want to start off the season. But you still cannot put that gravity on the bench for 20 minutes of real time, and have this bench mob, a complete bench mob, save for like Herb Jones out there. That's just not something that this team can afford. Like, again, Zion and Trey are young. They're not like this. Isn't veterans that you load managing, and Zion played the most minutes on the team, but you still can't have rotations where Zion and Trey are both off the floor. We talked about the Jose and Jeremiah Fears backcourt last in a preseason, going and again, Hunter Dickinson, God bless him, and he did some solid things while he was out there. But the second they got on defense, Ja Morant was like, that's who on the floor, and he went right at him over and over again, like playing him instead of, listen, you got a big lead, the team is rolling. This is the opportunity to see what Derek Queen has, right? Like if it's an 8-0 run and Derek Queen needs to sit down, well, then you still have a 2-point lead if you're up by 10, and then you can kind of course correct. But going straight to Hunter Dickinson, who then did not play in the second half, like that those kind of things just can't happen.
Or at least, Garrett, at least make the adjustment once it's not working. Don't just continue to die by it, right?
Yeah, right. And it just those things, and it just the rotation, it wasn't the primary reason they lost. That third quarter, there was just a lot of things that like went wrong for the Pelicans, and they just became sloppy. But you can't also put on top of that, putting your team in disadvantageous situations by sitting your stars down for big periods of time, and not putting them back in to call a run or to expand a lead or things like that. So those are just the things that I talked about it in our preseason pod, where I was like, every so often you get like, what was the thought process here from Willie Green? Like, these are the things that you're going to be looking for in the season. And for this one, I just wanted to see more Zion and Trey, more offensive sets with them, more them in tandem. They did a couple of pick and rolls together, and like it worked. And then then they stopped going to it. And it's just, those are the type of things that coaches need to have their finger on the pulse of. And it just did not look like, it was a full-on connected team coach situation going on in the game yesterday.
Right. I think roster management is my number one things I didn't like watching the game. I take that. That's probably number two. Defensive consistency. We keep going back to uncut gems and Kevin Garnett. Don't show me something I can't have. Don't come out like gangbusters in the first half and then just stop right in the second half. Because when shots don't fall and they weren't falling from three and things like that, you need something else to be able to rely on. And it needs to be your defensive habits. And again, like we talked about on the pod before, this is going to be something that has to be a strength for this team, but I also think it's going to be something that they have to work on to build consistency as the season goes on. I don't think in the first 10 games they're going to lock everybody up. I think they're going to have to go through some of these lumps and figure out and probably lose some games and say, this is what we can't have. This has to be a non-negotiable.
So I agree with that. But my problem with like consistency, and again, this goes back to coaching, right? At the beginning of the game, damn that. Last year, when you played Ja Morant, both games, he walked a player down in the final seconds of the game and scored. Herb Jones, he walked Herb Jones down twice and scored because you didn't double him. You reverted back to guard your yard. You play Ja Morant again. The situation is ahead of you again. Herb has 5 fouls and you aren't directed. I would be yelling and screaming to anybody who will listen to go double team Ja Morant and make Jalen Wells hit the shot, make Cedric Coward hit the shot, make Santi Aldama hit the shot. But you cannot just let guys play one-on-one, and time again, it happens over and over and over again. And the worst part, to go back to Uncut Gems, is that you showed me it in the first half. You doubled him and made him pass the ball almost every time and ended up 24-9. And then when it's all up for grabs, you stop doing it. That should have been a primary focus in the defensive huddle coming out into that play. Whenever Ja touches the ball, if he gets into that corner or that elbow and tries to go one-on-one with her, somebody come help. You help the helper. Let's get the drink stirred and go from there. But again, consistency, and the consistency has to come down from the coaches. That you cannot accept that. That cannot be something you accept, but time and time again, it tends to be that.
There is absolutely a balance, and I understand, haven't been a coach myself, again, not at the NBA level, but just understanding there are times when, yeah, you don't want to double because then that gets everyone moving, and if you've got a great passer like John Morant, he can easily find the open guy. I get that. But Garrick, once you have 20 points and once you have 25 points, I understand Herb's a great defender, but what is the age-old adage? Great offense beats great defense, right? So it doesn't matter if you're in perfect position. Sending one guy and not making other people beat you has been a habit that's plagued this team time and time again, right? So we talk about rotation management. We talk about lack of defensive consistency. We talk about the guard your yard stuff that's still plaguing the team. We have to talk about Trey Murphy. So again, it's one game. I'm not overreacting. I am here for all the overreactions. I saw it both ways the first half. I'm here for all that. Here's my thing with Trey, and this is the problem is we talked about this exact same topic before the game started. There are too many times through the course of the game where Trey Murphy is either non-existent, like you don't know where he is, or he's just not playing with the same level of aggression as a player of his caliber or who he aspires to be needs to be. And it's not so much the missed shots. Everyone's going to have missed shots. Everyone's going to have off games. We just talked about Zion shooting under 50%. People are going to have off games. Is that level of intensity and aggression doesn't stay consistent with Trey, right? Like we've knocked Brandon Ingram about the same things in the past before where 3-4 possessions are going by and you're like, is he on the court? And part of that in especially when it comes to Trey Murphy, part of that is I think him not revving it up on the defensive end and starting the break himself and touching the ball and then attacking the basket and seeing a couple go in and Antonio Davis saying all the broadcasts. We love to see a shooter after he makes a few free throws because then he's in a rhythm. Well, what about like going to the basket early in the game and then you're in a rhythm with that too, right? And that switch, again, that I don't expect Trey Murphy to have it figured out in game one, but it's something I'm keeping a very close eye to because when I look at his game yesterday, again, it's not the missed shots, it's the lack of aggressiveness on both sides. We talk about Zion had 5 steals in game one, Herb Jones with 3 steals and a block. Trey Murphy had 0 stocks. That is a stat where I expect him to be competing with Zion and Herb. And you look at those 3 as the pillar and the backbone of this team as it continues to grow and Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen grow and things like that. You also looking at those 3 setting the example. They did on the boards, right? Zion, 9 rebounds, Herb, 9 rebounds, Trey, 7 rebounds. But the stocks area is also where they set the tone. And I feel like that's where Trey didn't necessarily bring that aggressiveness. So it also leaked into his offensive game because a lot of young players, if they miss shots early, all of a sudden they're not giving the same effort on the defensive end. And that's just something that the Pelicans cannot afford or they will lose games just there. What did you see from Trey? What were the things that kind of bothered you about his initial performance?
Yeah, Raph, you're not going to win a lot of games when KCP, Jalen Wells, and Cedric Howard all outscore Trey Murphy. That's just not something that you can afford to have. And listen, I've seen, I talked about wanting Herb Jones to be aggressive. Herb got 14 shots up, and I think part of it was like by design, like you're going to hide John Morant on him. I'm going to put him in curls. I'm going to get him in actions to get to the rim and make Ja defend. But I think a lot of it was like, all right, well, like if he's not, because Trey only got 15 shots up. So like if he's not going to try to go for 20 shots, somebody else got to step up and take some shots. And it just felt like Trey let the game pass him by too long. And again, to your point, you make a great point. Part of it is getting involved in the game in other ways, right? Like you don't have to worry about, you shouldn't be concerned with like getting the points on the board if you are getting in the passing lane. Zion got 2 or 3 just out of steals, just 2 or 3 layups and dunks, playing in a fast break. If you get yourself involved in other ways, like those will come to you. And then in the fourth quarter, like Trey Murphy is just standing on the 3-point line, like waiting for somebody to pass. But like, bro, go get the ball, go to the rim, use your length. Zion is the only person who can get into the lane and get that 6th foul on Jared Jackson. He's not the only person that can get that 5th and 6th foul on Santi Aldama. You at 6'10" can do that, and I expect Trey to be a lot better. I expect him to learn from this game and not have it happen so much in the season. But this is exactly what we were talking about coming into the season. That this is a big year for Trey. Like, you get that paycheck, well deserved, well earned, put in the work, has gotten better every single year. But now you're no longer just that like little cute case and that guy behind Brandon Ingram who should be able to. That's not your role anymore. Like, you are the second option. You are the second in command. And Jordan Poole looked more like we was looking for shots early and getting acclimated to his team than Trey Murphy. And so I think his aggression. Him and Zion can't just sit and let the games pass them by. Like, there's a lot of talent on this team. Like, you saw what Jeremiah Fears played 18 minutes and got up 10 shots. Like, that is somebody who is looking to be aggressive. And it wasn't like he was just like hunting the shots. He was playing within the flow of the game, but being aggressive in that mindset. And Trey needs to do the same thing, because he can't just let the game pass him by. The Pelicans can't afford that.
Right. I couldn't agree more. So again, I liked a lot of this game. I know they lost.
That's the worst part. Yeah.
I know they lost. And I know that, there were some things to be taken away that both the coaching staff, Trey Murphy, things like that can improve on as well. But there was a lot to like too. We talked about Zion. We touched on that. Let's touch on Jeremiah Fears. Look, the Pelicans they might have found them one. Since Summer League, we talked about Yves Missi last season. From the first minute of Summer League to when you saw Yves touch the court, and the drastic jump and the difference that he made. Now, there's still places for him to go, and there's still places for Jeremiah Fears to go as well. But I feel the same way about Jeremiah Fears this year. From the first touch in Summer League till now, I don't say he looks like a different player, but he looks much more comfortable, right? We talk about De'Aaron Fox and him being one of those players that has a unique skill set that they've mastered in a way that everybody else hasn't mastered the thing that they do best. De'Aaron Fox knows how to divvy up his speed, start, slow down, hesitate, more than anybody else, I would say, in the league, knows how to do that exact niche of what they do. Jeremiah Fears is starting to pick up some of that. Like, you saw him play with pace when needed to. You saw him slow down when need to. You saw him be comfortable in the half court, end of shot clock, balls all over the place. Oh, let me just go coast to coast real quick with Ja bugging me in the backcourt. Like, there was a lot to like from his game, and none of it, like we said before, none of it felt like this isn't going to happen again, because it's not like he hit a whole bunch of threes, which that's not what he does at this point. It's not like he was hitting a bunch of fadeaway step backs. It was just this 19-year-old kid, smallest guy on the floor, getting to the rim, and there's nothing you could do about it because he's just so much faster and quicker with the ball than you. What were the things that popped out to you about Jeremiah Fears' NBA debut?
Yeah, man, I think like this kid is really freaking good. I tweeted about it while he's during his run. As a teenager, he has elite NBA handles, elite NBA speed, and he has a veteran's presence in a sense of he knows where his spots are and he knows how to get there, and he doesn't really care if like you trying to get him away. You saw Ja Morant picking him up full court and the ball is going everywhere and he's getting to his spots and beating Ja Morant and leaving him at half court, so much so that Ja got a little frustrated with Jeremiah Fears. And listen, this is the first game of the season. This is your debut. You're on the road playing Ja Morant, and like your team is down. So like it's not like you're just playing in garbage time and it's just free. Like you're trying to like drag your team back in the game. And he just time after time, shot after shot, doing what he does, getting to his spots. I think the thing that sticks out to me, what you talked about way back when back in Summer League, is that he's small in stature, but you don't feel it because he's so physical the way he plays. You saw him getting into the lane and bumping off people and finishing over way bigger guys and in awkward positions because he's looking for the contact. And that's something, getting to that spot, knowing that that's what you want to do and getting there time and time again, that is a skill set. That is an NBA skill set. And he just showed like getting there over and over again. And so I think that another thing that you saw from him is that when you talk about Jose who didn't play, part of the reason is because like Jose is a spark plug, but like Jeremiah Fears lights this team up when he gets on the floor, whether it's the speed, whether it's the quickness. He's so young that he doesn't know any better, and it's awesome. So like if he's also gonna be a spark plug, but be this dynamic on the ball, then that's just that's an added aspect to something that Jose he had a very niche hold on this team. And he's still very good and still is going to have time to play and opportunities. But I think he was the spark plug. He was the heartbeat. Well, now you got this kid who comes in and he brings you some of that same exact energy, except he can get to a spot and shoot over people and finish he can do a lot of added things. And so you saw already you look at the end of the bench and Michael Peavy and Jose didn't get in, and that's because Jeremiah Fears has shown a propensity to be a spark plug and a guy who could come in and contribute to the Pelicans being successful. So it was a great debut for Jeremiah Fears.
Yeah, and look, Derek Queen played about 14 minutes. First play took a charge on Jared Jackson Jr. You can see the IQ from the player, even though he's not in the same shape as everybody else because he hasn't been playing and he's working his way back into condition. There was a couple times he took the ball off the court and went coast to coast with it. Like, these are things you haven't seen the center on the Pelicans do in quite some time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And no, just he got his first taste of NBA veteran players getting into his head. Like, this is what they're gonna do. They know you got a lot of streak in him.
We're talking about stock competition between Herb Jones and with Zion Williamson. We also need to have a competition of technical fouls between Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. I think those two are gonna be in the mix. I know the veterans are like, yo, calm down, things like that. I just think those two are not types that you can like wound down very easily.
Trey did not take them boys to the Chris Brown concert. He took them to the NBA YoungBoy concert, and I think we know the reason why. So that just go about that. But yeah, I think you saw a lot of what the Pelicans saw at DQ. He's got a lot to grow into, a lot to learn. He got a block, he got a charge, he was hitting the boards. The shot is going to be the shot. He's going to get more opportunity to play, especially now. But I think you saw some of the good things that the Pelicans saw, and he's just going to have to build from that and keep his emotions a little in check because you got to have him out there. You can't flake technical foul out of a game when, especially now when the Pelicans don't have anybody playing center.
Right, and your 3-and-D guys, Herb Jones looked incredible, looked confident in his shot, looked confident attacking the rim. He had a couple of nice finishes in transition. I can say the same thing about Sadiq Bey. Again, a veteran, someone who he catches the ball in the block and sees anyone. It doesn't matter if it's a point guard, anyone who's smaller than him at 6'8", and he's going to the rim, not looking to pass design, he is going to the rim because he knows he has that. It's just a veteran presence and a veteran wing that this team has needed since Najee and Larry Nance and Dyson, all those things left. When Herb sat down, even with his 17 points and 9 rebounds, Sadiq Bey came in and filled that space just as well, right? And so that conglomerate of wings continue to grow is something you like to see as well. Now, something you don't want to see, which the Pelicans are all too common on, are injuries. And of course, the Yves Missi injury where he gets a rebound, lands on his ankle, twists his ankle, doesn't get to finish the game, and probably a good reason why the Pelicans didn't win because he led the team in plus minus all game. Willie Green said after today's practice that he's day-to-day, questionable. So knock on wood, that's great that it's not.
Because it looked really, really bad. So to hear him come out with day-to-day, I think that's great news.
Right. He had to be helped to the locker room last night. But again, he's 20 years old, Gary. He's young. Like these guys, and I think it's going to be super interesting. We talked about it. Like with Joe Dumars in charge now, when these guys get to day-to-day and they're like, you got Wimby coming in town. Are you 80%? Can you give it? Like, I'm just interested how the injury report and the percent healed, how that goes about this year. Because I just think with so much on the line, with so many people fighting for so many things, Like people probably play early in the season for games that they might have sat out before in the past.
It ain't just Wemby coming here because you play the Celtics after that, and guess where you go after that? To Denver and play Jokic. So yes, you would probably like to have one of your starting center rotation players available.
Right. So if East Misi is not available for tomorrow's games for San Antonio, there's a couple questions that come. First of all, that is literally the worst team in the league that you could have no center for, because that guy who's 9'12", who just had 40 and 15 in his season opener.
All might.
Yeah, that guy plays with height. And, you can body guys as much as you can, but 7'5" and 6'5", that there's not much body and physicality you can do with that. Ask Anthony Davis, ask Derek Lively, ask Cooper Flat, all these giants that were trying to guard him and had no chance. But then the question becomes, what are the Pelicans going to do, right? Like, you can't just walk out there and say, we ain't got no center, so we're not going to play. Hunter Dickinson's the only one available. He was minus 12 in 5 minutes of action. I don't know how much you want to rely on that. Derek Queen's getting his feet underneath him. He was cleared for full contact like 4 days ago. Do you think it's going to be one of those things where this sounds crazy, but like you're going to have to see Zion at small ball fight? Like, you're going to have to figure it out in terms of how you're going to get enough bodies when it comes to that. So when you look at that matchup and you look at what's coming, what do you see as obviously the biggest scouting assignment is Victor Wembanyama? What do you see in this upcoming Spurs game tomorrow that you want to see how the Pelicans handle?
Well, the first thing is going to be Victor Wembanyama. I can't wait to see. Yes, you're going to have Zion.
Derek Queen was asked today, like, what do you do with Victor Wembanyama? He was like, try your best.
Yeah, I mean, that's all, bro. That dude is a scary sight. So first thing is you have to see if there's any kind of way that you could get him in foul trouble. I would attack him, try to get into his body as much as you can. If you're Zion, if you're Trey, like, he's gonna get you. He had 6 blocks the first game. He's gonna get you. Like, he's gonna catch you. But you gotta go. You can't be afraid to go at him, because that's literally the only way you're gonna be able to compete from a center position. Because Hunter Dickinson, again, God bless his heart, he does not want any smoke with Victor Wembanyama. So Zion is going to have to play some of those minutes. I expect Herb to play some of those minutes. It's going to have to be, again, a team option. I said, go to what you did the first game. If Herb is there, do not let Herb guard Victor Wembanyama by himself. Bring multiple people to him, because he can beat you by himself. Ask the Mavericks. Yes, Stephon Castle had 22 points and it was wonderful. That man who was shooting one-legged three-pointers and rebounding the ball and blocking it and catching it with one hand and hitting step-back threes on the other side, that is why the Spurs ran away with their game against the Mavericks. So you're going to have to get the ball out of his hand, make some of these other young guards, these other young players beat you. Again, you saw the blueprint of it in the beginning first quarter against John Morant. You're going to have to deploy a lot of that. And again, this is going to have to be if this is the most team effort on the boards when it comes to rebounding, because you're going to have Herb crash like he did in the first game. Zion crash. Trey is going to have to crash. Jeremiah Fears, the guards are going to, Jordan Poole, like, those guys are going to have to get rebounds, and they are decent rebounders for positional size. We talk about Jordan Poole and Jeremiah Fears. And so it's going to be a team effort. But again, the Pelicans they put up 122 points and only shot 27 threes. Like, they have the ability. I tweeted yesterday, they scored 67 points in the first half. They did that in the first game of the first half of the first game of the season. They did that 3 times all of last year. They did it you have the offensive firepower. Kevin Durant said it best on starting 5 to win games. You got to score. You got to put the ball in the basket. And you're not going to be able to stop Wemby from getting 25, 30, 35 points without bird talk, but you're going to have to match that firepower. And so I think if they play on the offensive side of the ball, keep the ball moving, attack Wemby. And I think what they could do tonight, again, going back to starting 5, Watch the OKC game last year where they had no centers and they went up against the Clippers, and Jalen Williams started on Zubac, and the minute they passed the ball to him, he was swarmed by people, and so and they won that game. So you have to take something, a similar approach to this game, and you have to blitz him and make him uncomfortable, because I think that's the only shot that you have of slowing him down in any kind of way.
I'm gonna go a different direction. I don't think you're gonna slow Wemby down. I just don't think the Pels have the personnel, maybe even with healthy,
I agree,
to make it super difficult on him. But to your point, there's no De'Aaron Fox in this game. The Pels were still, the Spurs were still really good in game one. They had 31 fast break points. I think it's going to come down to this: can the Pels both control the ball and value the ball and not turn the ball over and give the Spurs easy possessions? And can they keep up their defensive consistency for 4 quarters? Not 3, not 3.5, but for 4 quarters. Because if I look at the Spurs roster, there is a part that, it's different than football. You don't just play one side of the ball. You have to play both sides of the ball. If a Dallas Mavericks team that's huge and every player is 6'11", like the Rockets, can get bullied by the Spurs, you have to dive deeper into why they got bullied by the Spurs. They were in the game for most of the first half, but as soon as the Spurs kind of went on that run, the Mavs can't score. They don't have a point guard. They don't have anyone to keep them in the game. And once that guy happened, they stopped playing defense. They stopped giving as much effort on the defensive end, and the game got out of hand quickly in the second half really quick. The Pelicans aren't necessarily that. You look at the Spurs, and there's a lot of players that you can attack on that end, and there's a lot of players where between Herb Jones and between Zion and things like that, you can, I don't want to say guard your yard because there's no John Morant on their perimeter and things like that, but you can make it difficult for them to score. And they're not a team that is going to light you up from the 3-point line outside of Vassell and things like that. So if you can get a lead, especially at home in the home opener, you get it rocking in there and things like that, I think that is your best chance at victory, because just playing straight up and trying to, contain Victor and, let other people I just don't think that's going to be a recipe for success when 3 of your starting centers are banged up or out. I just don't think that that's going to work. And so maintain, again, your identity, maintaining your defensive activity for the entire game and being relentless. You talk about Victor having 6 blocks in the first half and getting them into foul trouble. We just talked about that as well. Victor had 3 fouls in the first half, but the Mavs stopped attacking because he got blocks as well. I think this is one of those Marshawn Lynch type performances that you need from Zion Williamson, where he's going over and over and over. And if Victor gets a block, the next possession over and over and over, because you're not going to beat him vertically. He's going to beat the league vertically. You got to go through him, and you've got to make him make some decisions from that standpoint. And just like we've talked about in previous Zion versus Wemby games, like the dynamic between those two and when they clash on both sides, it should be a spectacle for everybody to see. And so I'm looking in the home opener, what type of energy do you start with and do you maintain for the entire one so you can get up on the other end? With that being said, the Pelicans play tomorrow night versus the Spurs in the blender. First game of the season at home. What you got left for the people, Garrick, as the Pelicans try to rebound?
Yeah, as always, you never know what people are going through, so give someone a smile today. It should be rocking in the Smoothie King Center. I can't wait to be down there and see the energy. I think coming out of this game, you're upset that the Pelicans lost, but there were some good things there that you're interested in and you're excited about, and you're seeing if they can iron out some of the kinks that they had in that first game. Very winnable game. They should be even more competitive in this game. So we'll see. We'll be there. If you see us, holler at us. Let us know what you think. So as always, follow myself at Garrick_Rattler. Follow my brother at Raphael_Rattler. Follow the page at NO_basketball, no E. That's on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you get your socials. Most importantly, subscribe to New Orleans Basketball. We'll see y'all in the next one.